Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So most of us were absolutely stunned by the tragic and horrific news that a sniper started a fire in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, lured firefighters to the area, ambushed them, killed some, critically injuring others. He's been found dead, suspect named. So we're going to give you the latest on that. It's just, this tragedy is so multifaceted. And, you wonder, and I apologize, my allergies are acting up. You just wonder how somebody could be so disgusting. And unfortunately, these people are among us. So the sniper's name is Wes Rowley. He was found Sunday night dead near his gun on Canfield Mountain. Allegedly, I understand you're innocent until proven guilty, but allegedly it's Wes Rowley. From what I understand, I think he's only 20 years old. He was found outside of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, slaughtering two firefighters who have not been named. I think they're still reaching out to family. And then a third is now critically ill, fighting for their life. This after we believe he started a fire used to bait the fire department. We don't have too much other information. Cotenno County Sheriff Robert Norris said it was unclear if he was killed by a cop's bullet or if he took his own life. That should be pretty easy to figure out, but being that this is so developing, they just don't have that information yet. I hope he suffered. His body was pulled away from the scene as the blaze began to spread Canfield Mountain. From what we understand, the fire is still going on. The fire was reported about 1:21 p.m. yesterday. Two local firefighters, one from Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, another from Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, I hope I'm pronouncing those right, were shot and killed while scoping out the fire scene. A third was left fighting for his life after being struck and rushed to surgery, according to Daily Mail. We are being told he is, according to Daily Mail, now in stable condition. According to CNN, the suspect is 20 years old, Wes Rowley. Investigators believed he intentionally set the fire on Canfield Mountain and then opened fire on responding firefighters. As of 25 minutes ago, CNN is reporting that the fire has grown to 26 acres as of Monday morning. The area has, smoke. It's hovering over. There's ash lingering in the air, and the blaze continues to grow. As we're waiting on more information on this, and this is just frightening. I don't know what these people are thinking. And as a physician who's had, a lot of psychological training, but I'm not a psychiatrist. We always make the mistake of trying to think like or put ourselves in their minds with our normal, logical, healthy mindset. And when you see something like this, you're like, why would somebody want to start a wildfire? We all know how disastrous that is, let alone do that to ambush firefighters. What was his? We don't have a motive yet. We don't know. It doesn't sound like it's a disgruntled ex-employee but still, firefighters, they are of an amazing breed. I don't want to stereotype, but I have never met a firefighter who wasn't ethical, who wasn't just awesome, who wasn't a good person, just all the way around. A person that you could trust. I'd love, to see one of our future presidents a firefighter, because I think they would probably be fantastic. And so, when you look at something that happens like this, you're like, why, who would do that? And you try to, in your own mind, figure out the justification or the logic, and you can't. Maybe this guy heard voices. Maybe he just was bored and he felt like this was something that would amuse him. And when you have people with real severe psychological severe psychological illness, mental health illness, they don't have the empathy. You would think, oh my God, why would you even want to touch a hair on a person's head, an innocent person's head? Why would you even want to scratch the bare surface of somebody? But to them, there's just no empathy. Somebody could die and they don't care. They just don't think about it. They don't, it's, we see all these movies and we think like Squid Game and TV shows and things like that. And we go, okay, well, this is all, fake and fiction. And these are stories. But a lot of these stories are sometimes built on real human behavior. And human behavior is disgusting. People ask if Squid Game was a true story. Was there really a group of individuals who played games, not to the 100% accuracy, but I think it was maybe a few decades ago, there was, I believe, a jail where they allowed the inmates to play games against each other and hurt themselves. I can't confirm that, but look at what happened with the Holocaust. Look at people's response to the Hamas attack and Israeli hostages and American hostages. You have this lack of empathy, and we're seeing, not to mention lack of moral code, lack of ethics. And I fear we're seeing more and more and more of it because society is allowing it to happen. Wasn't there a concert where somebody was screaming death to the IDF? You want death to a defense? What? People are sick. And the fact that you saw people cheering on the assassination attempts of Donald Trump, you saw people, laughing at World Trade Center bombings and the collapse. We have very sick individuals. And I really feel bad for the psychiatrists because they have a lot of work ahead of them. And we'll never understand what's in the mind of the shooter because he's dead, and I'm glad he's dead. But he's not the only one out there, sadly. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So since the start of my show, we made you aware of my pets. I spoke about my pets. And if you remember, one of them did a lot of pee-pee house. He took a dump multiple times on our grand piano. We didn't know that. We were smelling poop in our living room, and we couldn't find it anywhere. And I kept blaming somebody in the house on gas explosion. And finally, somebody went to the back of the piano, and they saw that there were piles of poop in our grand piano. We had to get rid of a multi-$1,000 beautiful instrument. There was just no way to salvage it because it was pooped on. Why? Because of our cat, Shake. We adopted 2 cats, Shake and Bake. Bake left us years ago after we talked about that when there was this recall of food that apparently was causing renal failure. Our cat went into renal failure, Shake and Bake. So we named them after, remember Talladega Nights? Shake and Bake. So we had Shake and Bake, adopted Shake almost 19 years ago. And Shake, being a boy, loved to pee and poo on anything. In fact, if I had a dress that fell from a hanger in my closet and I didn't pick it up within 3 seconds, he would find it and pee on it. The 3-second rule means something a lot different to me. If I left town and he did not want to be with the house sitter, he would pee and poo up my bed. If he wanted to get my attention, he would come right up to me and pee on the ground in front of me. He didn't have a UTI. We took him to the vet multiple times. He was just a jerk, okay? But he was my jerk. And we adopted him when my sons were only 4 and 6. And you guys have heard countless stories. In fact, you guys probably even smelled some of the pee-pee because I would bring some of the things of mine that he ruined. He probably cost tens of thousands of dollars of damage to clothes, to instruments, to flooring. This is what the cat did. But he was my cat. And having him for almost 19 years, it was hard when we had to say goodbye to him this weekend. Believe it or not, it was hard. It was hard. When you wake up and every day he's greeting you, when you take a shower and he is always there, just not even to eat. He just felt like he had to protect me in the shower. Looking like this, you really don't have to protect me. Trust me, people would just walk the other way. But he had to stay there, and I had to scream at him that this was completely inappropriate. That I am a married woman. I would like some privacy. But no, he just needed to feel like he had to. Anytime he went to the bathroom, he had to come to the bathroom and wait. Very smart cat, could open up car doors, could open up doors, could get our attention by taking little letters and envelopes and putting them under a door if he was on the other side. I mean, just really smart cat. But when you lose a pet, sometimes it's harder than when you lose a human. Now, I understand a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Daliah, that's horrible. You just spoke about lack of empathy. How could you feel a pet is worth more than a human? If you've been around some of the humans I've been around, the pet loves you every single day. The pet, even though this cat was vicious, right, and cynical and retaliatory, still loved him. And I know he loved me. And so it's interesting how I've seen patients also where they would come to me in full-on grief losing a pet. Yet, when they lost their spouse or when they lost a family member or a parent, they didn't have the same reaction. And I'm like, what's going on here? What? And so I think I've tried to dissect this a little bit because, to me, when you lose a human, it's just tragic. I can't even imagine losing my dad. But these animals, the reason why is it's their proximity to you. It's your daily habit. When people lose something, they remember, we had that phone call, or we went to lunch, or we went to every single thing in that house reminds me of Shaky Boo. Now, we had to call him Shaky Boo because if you don't have shake and bake, you shake? He didn't like the name shake. And in Spanish, it's sacudito, so I called him sacudito, but he didn't like that also. And then I didn't want to call him what my husband called him every time he peed up the house. So, I called him Shaky Boo. But, he's always there. He would always sleep in between me and Corey, and you would hear his purring. And so I think what happens with the pet is that you are so used to going to the bathroom and him being there, or showering and him being there, or you trying to eat and him jumping up trying to eat some of your tuna fish, or you trying to watch a movie. You know how many presidential debates and presidential elections this cat went with me? And so we watched the last one with Biden and Trump. Well, no, I wasn't home for that one. I wasn't home because I was at the radio station for that one. But there was one recent debate or something, and he's looking at me like, again, this is the same thing, different day. He's been with us almost 2 decades. Yeah, and so you kind of are just so used to him being there. But then what also makes it harder is you have other pets. Remember, he was having sex with Sashi. Sashi was his booty call. And he would holler, and she would run to him. And, I'd be trying to watch a movie. I'd be trying to work from home, and then I had to watch Caligula. It was ridiculous. It was. But then I worry about, what about the other cats? What about the other, and in fact, I think we adopted... we adopted Sashi. We've adopted all of our animals. And so, now you worry, well, how are they going to react? What do they do? So then, the first thing people say is, we'll get another pet. You hear that when somebody has a miscarriage, we'll have another baby. If somebody, and at first everybody's like, how could you? How could you? But they're not that far off. The problem with losing a pet is you have so much love to give. And now there's that vacuum. You're like, who do I cuddle? Who do I sing to? Who do I, make fun of? Who do I tickle tummy? And you have all of this emotion that you don't know how to project on. Now, of course, the other animals, like our little dog, is like all over the place. The dog's happy, except wondering where the cat dish is, because he would eat Shake's food, and then Shake would be ticked, and it'd be all this drama, when I'd come home. But, so are we going to adopt another cat? I don't think we can afford to. I've been dying to get another piano, because I play piano. I've been dying to get another. But, if the animal we adopt decides to pee and poop it up, that is a little intimidating and daunting. But, if you are ever looking at, well, what do I do to grieve? Am I dishonoring their memory? by going and getting another animal, or you're not. You're not. What you're doing is you're extending the love. You're actually extending the memory. I compare the animals to Shake all the time. All the time. I tell the cats, thank you for not going pee-pee house. In fact, another one of my favorite dresses, was on the ground in the closet this morning. I ran over to it and I smelled it and I was like, oh, there's no pee-pee on it. And I look at the two girl cats and I go, well done, babes. Well done. And they're like, yeah, we don't go pee-pee house like Shaky did. So that was a really nice bonding moment. that one of my outfits wasn't peed up. And so it is a way to grieve. I know a lot of companies that will allow you to memorialize the animal. I don't think I like those mobile pictures where it looks like the animal is there, and that creeps me out. We didn't keep the ashes or anything like that. Trust me, we have enough remnants. I have urea crystals if I really needed any remnants and rememberings and memories. I got plenty to memory. This cat is going to be haunting us for life. But it's okay to do that. People go, oh, you're so involved with your pet. There's something wrong. No, you're not. There's something wrong if you don't treat humans with that love and empathy and attention. That's when something starts to not fit right, where you really, really love animals, but you don't have any human you're close to, and you can't stand humans. Trust me, I understand. I mean, seeing what some of the humans are saying and, doing these days, I get that. But that's when, we would try to look at, are you trying to, project? Are you, or if you're trying to pretend to be a cat and peeing in a litter box. I've never peed in a litter box. Although after that Zohan movie, you saw him pee in a litter box. That did look, convenient, I have to say. Anyway, I love you, Shaky Boo. I'll miss you. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I guess the Senate right now is going back and forth, and I guess doing what they call a vote-a-rama on Trump's big, beautiful bill. Senate is nearing towards a final vote. Their goal was for President Trump to sign this on July 4th. The problem is it passed in the House, went to the Senate. By the time the Senate makes changes, the House has to then look back at it and then send it to Trump. I think it's pretty ambitious to be ready by this Friday. However, it is their goal, and we'll see what happens. This looks at taxes and tax cuts. It looks at our defense, our border, energy, and things that have to hopefully get done to make good on the promises of this campaign is the no tax on tips. No tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Not the key measure of the bill, but these are things that many middle-class Americans are hoping for. At the center of the bill is, of course, the extension of President Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That's slated to sunset at the year's end, and so this seeks to make the cuts permanent. Increased spending in border security, defense, energy production. People are concerned about some of the cuts to Medicaid. If Medicaid is going to have work requirements, which from what I understand are very lenient for able-bodied non-parents, where they work approximately 20 hours a week, I think is absolutely fine. Thinking that there are able-bodied, strong, strapping men and women with no children and no disability getting Medicaid when they could hopefully, work. I think that does. And as a physician, you want people to have access to health care, but whether they're, shall we say, honoring requirements, so for example, when I was a physician in the ER, you had somebody come in, I didn't check their immigration status. I'm there to get them better, to help them. But the problem we're having as it pertains to Medicaid and costs is money's running out. And so we have to use our dollars wisely. And if somebody is by choice not working and not contributing and putting money into the system, because if you work, then money goes into Medicaid, somebody has to ask the question, why? And people always confuse Medicaid and Medicare. Medicare are for those with disability. Medicaid are for those who are of low income. And the whole purpose of Medicaid were for people of low income whose job was not covering their insurance, or their insurance was expensive, and that their wages weren't covering it. Somehow it included people who could by choice not work. Medicaid got expanded during the Great Recession. I know Google and Wikipedia has now changed the Great Recession to ending in 2009. But from what I remember and what America remembers, the Great Recession went well into 2015. And people were losing their jobs and out of work. So Medicaid was supposed to be a sunset, but they never did that. They just said, we're expanding Medicaid. And so we had 70-some million people, I think currently, which is more than the whole country of England in terms of their population, on Medicaid. And, many of them don't have kids, they aren't caretakers for somebody. They're able-bodied. Then why not, have a work requirement? Especially since there were a lot of jobs available post-COVID where people were begging people to come to work and there was low staff. And we had individuals say, no, it's better to get the money. So, looking at those options, and as I've always said, we should have taken the Obamacare money and all those credits and all the money going into the websites and pushing and marketing of Obamacare. We should have set up clinics throughout the country so that if somebody didn't have insurance, whether they were legal or not, whether they were able-bodied or not, there was still always a place for them to go for free. Now, there is the ERs, but we could have used that money to boost our infrastructure and have more free clinics. We used to have a lot of free clinics. And then money ran out. Why? Well, because we shifted the money. We're spending more money on healthcare than we ever have, yet they're not going to the free clinics. In the 90s, when I was in medical school, I trained at, part of our training had to be at an STD clinic. And I remember there was an STD clinic in, I think, South LA. I don't know if those still exist. I remember we had free clinics through UMC that people could go to, or sliding scale. Those clinics closed. We're spending more on money now, yet we have fewer of these clinics. Why? Because the money got shifted. We're going to incentivize insurance companies to raise their rates and deductibles. We're going to pay for higher priced pharmaceuticals. We shifted the money. And now there's fewer places for people to go. So my recommendation is take that money back and put it into free clinics or clinics where you only pay $5, something small. So, looking at, so one of the things the legislation looks at is requirements for some able-bodied adults and more frequent eligibility checks. I think that's fine. Why not review their eligibility? Look at what Doge found and Elon Musk found, where we had contracts that were being paid on for years, but no work being done. Why aren't we reviewing who's getting the money? Look at the Social Security rolls where there were people 300 years old. I mean, why aren't we rechecking? That doesn't sound bad. Healthcare coverage to undocumented immigrants has been very controversial, but California had to stop that. California had to stop adding illegal immigrants to their healthcare coverage because they were operating at a deficit. If you're here illegally, why are you getting free health care when Americans can't? If you come here legally, then you can. A lot of legal immigrants were able to get on Medicaid. But if you're illegal or undocumented, yes, that's going to be a problem. I can't get free health care in another state or country. You have to pay cash up front. The state and local tax deduction or SALT is a biggie. There's a package to increase the cap on state and local tax deduction, raise it from $10,000 to $40,000. After 5 years, it returned back to 10. Basically, blue state Republicans want to withhold their support without the increase because they pay a lot of money into their state taxes. And then for them to also pay for the country when they're already paying so much, SALT allows there to be that deduction. I'm really mixed on that. I want the bill to pass, but the problem is it's a big, beautiful bill. Honestly, you could have easily passed the no tax on tips day one. There are things that could have gotten passed in smaller bills. And I get it might have simplified things for the Senate and the House, but when you have too many pieces to it, you have all this arguing and infighting and some states not liking it, some states liking it. I mean, I can't stand the fact that you have, Medicaid is big enough to be its own bill. Food stamps, paying for junk food. That should have been passed already. We don't use food stamps. Taxpayers do not pay for junk food, period. That ends. It's for healthy food. So that because it's a supplemental nutrition program, we're supplementing nutrition. If it's not nutritious, it doesn't get covered by SNAP. That could have been a bill done. But it has to be mixed in with SALT. It has to be mixed in with the debt limit and so it's, I think they are going to move on it. I think they eventually will pass it, but I think we could have had a lot of things done if it had been broken up into smaller bills. That's just me. 1-877-Doc-Daliah.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this is something that I've been asked a lot about in recent days. Is it Zohran Mamdani, the primary winner of the Democratic primary in the New York City mayor race? And there has been multiple reports that Jews voted for him. Meanwhile, as he's been circulating the news networks, they've been asking him to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, of which he won't do. And so a lot of people are kind of concerned that the next New York mayor could be Mamdani. Now, I don't really follow New York politics, but it's not that difficult to see how he has a very easy path to become mayor of the second most populous area of Jews in the country. First is Israel, second is New York City. New York City has almost 1 million Jews. And to hear that Jews voted for him and that many Democrats like his socialist versus communist suggestions like government-run supermarkets and other things, it is making people a little concerned. Well, why he won, and again, I haven't been watching New York politics, but it seemed like I woke up last week or 2 weeks ago and found out that Andrew Cuomo was back in politics. And from what I understand, he was pretty unpopular, especially having to leave office after sexual harassment claims. And I come to find out that he's running against this guy, Zohran Mamdani. And I'm like, well, he's going to lose. I mean, this was like right before I didn't know what the heck was going on. Eric Adams left the Democrat side to run as an independent, and he's going to continue to run as an independent, current Mayor Eric Adams. And I understand why he's leaving the Democrat side. He's also a prior police officer, and so there's, the law enforcement. So I'm not surprised with that move, but I was like, Andrew Cuomo's not going to win. And who is this other guy? Well, once you started to see he didn't condemn the Hamas attacks, there's been much of what he has said or not said that has been construed as him not in support of the Jewish population or Israel, and to not condemn the globalization of intifada. Intifada means uprising and revolt. The globalization of intifada is suggesting sleeper cells, individuals, many of whom are terrorists, to rise up. Now, that could very easily be condemned. And if he wants to please all sides, he could have, but he wouldn't, which is very, very concerning. And so when people ask, why did Jews vote for him? Well, as I said, I haven't really followed, but when you compare his campaign to Cuomo's campaign, Cuomo establishment, old news, I think he had Clinton and Bloomberg money, versus with him where he's TikToking and shirtless and dancing and whatever. He kind of did the Trump thing where he went to podcasts, he hit younger people, and he's striking a chord with individuals who say they can't afford to live in New York City anymore. And from what I understand, some Jews voted for him because they liked his ideas from an economic standpoint. And saying, look, this is unsustainable. Whoever's been running things isn't running it well. Well, the problem we have is anti-Semitic attacks have skyrocketed. Universities such as Columbia and their anti-Semitic attacks, and Jews not being able to go to class. If you're going to be mayor of New York City, you need to make sure that you protect everybody. And every student, every person walking to a kosher store, to a mosque, to a church, they need to feel safe. And right now, people are not feeling that this guy is going to protect their interests, not to mention bring government in where we really don't think government should be a government-run supermarket. That's not something that's capitalistic or socialistic. That's communistic. What's he talking about? Why is New York so expensive? Well, it's because of their property taxes. It's because of their real estate. It's because of all the tolls. It's because they are taking care of so many people, including, millions of illegal immigrants. And so things are expensive, and they have some of the highest taxes because they have to pay for so many more people. And they have to pay for so many people that might not be putting money into the system. Is there a lack of jobs that people can work? Are people afraid to take the subway now because of crime? So they now have to take other modes, and they're like, to hell with it. I'll just take the government dime, and I'm not going into work. Running the supermarket from a government standpoint is not necessarily going to fix their solutions. And the idea of, we're going to tax the rich. That's something all politicians say, oh, yeah, we're going to tax the rich. We're going to make Jeff Bezos pay. He just spent a whole bunch of money in Venice, so let's make him pay. There's not enough rich people to pay for all the non-rich people. Right? You might think that their millions of dollars is enough, but it's not, because what we're spending, look at what we were spending per immigrant, per illegal immigrant. Look at what we're spending on healthcare. It's not enough. So how the system works is if everybody works, they put money into the system, those that can work. And hopefully there's fewer and far between individuals who are disabled that can't work, like the older population, those who are disabled, where those of us working, if it's 75% of the population, 80% of the population, the money is going in to help those who can't. But we're not at that. We are at where 50% or less are working. So how does half the country pay for the other half of the country? And this is how this country is going to turn socialized. Or it could later turn communistic. If we have so many people not working, putting money into the system, that the government just has to keep printing, or paying for everything. See, we don't want the government involved. Okay, if you really, and I find that kind of interesting. He doesn't want to condemn, the globalized intifada and condemning people who are anti-Israel defending themselves after the Hamas attack, yet he wants government involved. So which is it? Do you want government involved or not? Do you want, is it really freedom of the people? If it's freedom of the people, then why aren't they, protecting? Why aren't they protecting citizens? Israelis, Muslims, LGBTQIA plus community members who were abducted and killed by Hamas during the October 7th attack. Watching his campaign, he knows how to run a successful campaign. And will he become the next New York mayor? He absolutely can be. If Eric Adams is running as an independent and Curtis Sliwa is running on the Republican side, I like Curtis. I've had dinner with him. He's a great guy. Love a lot of what he stands for and how he's tried to protect his community. But he never acquires enough votes. And if he and Eric Adams split the vote, that is the contra to Mandami. Mandami wins. So I was just surprised that Andrew Cuomo was the best they had up against him. That we could have called that. That wouldn't have gone far. And then Governor Cuomo's like, well, maybe I'll run as an independent. I understand he's got money and he's got some backing, but the people don't like him. if they don't like him. Now, he is very pro-Jewish, and he is, but it's too little too late. He was not a popular governor. So, I think also a lot of people didn't vote in the primary. So we'll see what happens. But, I think the press really needs to press this candidate on exactly, he might say whatever needs to be said to get elected, but we need to kind of know, what is New York City going to look like if he really runs things? 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.